Good morning, traders. Today is Wednesday, November 17th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, well, what are we looking at here in the markets? Well, first thing for this morning, the overnight inventory was just rotational in a very tight range inside of yesterday's range. So we can see, let me just pull up that tool real quick. So we can see literally they just bounced in between these two nodes of volume that we created yesterday. And so I would expect that's what we're going to do here in the open as well. We're going to get some chop, some grind, and we're going to stay below this node of volume and above this node of volume and just kind of chop around in here. So getting above or below either one of those nodes, I could look for continuation. If we get above or below and find support resistance, as always. So if we got below, say the 87 area, came back up, say we repaired that weak reference, came back up, and then found resistance, I'd look to go short for continuation lower. And if we pushed up above the node over here, say repair those weak references, come back down, and then I'm finding support here, I'm happy to go long for continuation above. I do still think, same as I described yesterday, that we're in a larger balancing area at the moment, meaning over the daily, the market is moving sideways. Let me just pull up that chart for you guys so I can show you. So essentially the idea is I think that, we're doing the same thing that we've done in the past where we get excess to the upside and then we just kind of bounce around in a range. Excess to the upside, bounce around in a range. Excess to the upside, bounce around in a range. I think that's what we're doing right now. But because we had so much excess in this particular move, it's like a larger range. So I think the higher probability is that we go down. But honestly, market generated information wise, it's 50-50 here. If it does start to move higher today, as I mentioned, the first step is getting above this node of volume from yesterday. So if we do that, if we push up here, come back down and find support, I will go long for continuation higher. And then once again, it's even more confirmed if we get above that all-time high. So push above here, come back down, find support. Push above here, come back down, find support again. That would be even further confirmation that we're going to get continuation higher into the blue skies. And that's very possible. Like I say, market generated information wise, it's kind of 50-50 because value was higher yesterday. Value being higher is a signal that the market is ready to move higher. So I think we're in a balancing area, which to my mind means we need to pull back down at the very least into these nodes of volume down here around 72. But if not, even lower, like 58 or 45. But with value being higher yesterday and the momentum bringing in support up here, we spent a lot of time up here at higher prices, brought in a lot of volume. It would be just as reasonable that the market takes off to the upside. So once again, just watching these two nodes of volume. As long as the market is trading between them, it's probably just going to grind up and down. That's what happens when you open inside the previous day's range, and particularly inside the previous day's value area, you often get chop. So I'll just sit back and watch it grind up and down and look for a better trade when it presents itself. Good morning, Cyrus. Good to see you. Phoenix, good morning to you. Mark back with us. Good morning. Philip is here. Good to see you. R, good morning to you. Mark, yeah, just down at the bottom of the screen, there's a little gear. Just click on that and switch it to HD, and it should get clear for you. Nathan, good morning to you. David, good morning. Oh, Philip already answered the question. Thanks, Philip. JG with the GM. Vincent, good morning. Futures Trader, good morning to you. John, good morning. And Sanju, good morning. Good to see you guys. All right, well, this is the area where we should find support and head back up if the chop is going to continue. Otherwise, if we start to push lower here, I'll look for resistance. They may repair this weak reference first, but then I'll look for resistance to short here if we can't get back above this level. But as of now, it should act as support, and the market should start to rotate back up. If we're going to get that chop. Peter 4K market profile. I wish. The screen, I think, is only 1080 anyway. And good morning to you. Welcome. Ray Miller in New Jersey this morning. Ray gets around. Good morning to you. RK. RK says he doesn't think it'll hold today. I think he means this node of volume. That would make sense. If we're in a balancing area, we have to trade down to the opposite end of balance, right? Pretty quickly. Once you look above or you get up to the top of the balancing area and you fail to break out, you head straight down to the bottom. Now, we don't know if that's going to happen, what exactly is the bottom of the balance area yet. But we know if that's what's going to happen, the market needs to start heading in that direction today. The more time we spend up here, the more acceptance of these prices, increasing the odds of a breakout to the upside. Danielle, good morning to you. Welcome. Ronald, good to see you. Okay, so now that we've broken below this node, you can almost think about it just as like that overnight low. Now we're looking for resistance. So that's the first bearish indicator that we're not just going to get chopped this morning. So now we're looking for resistance when we push back up into here. If we get that, I would short it for continuation lower. If not, I would just assume chop, heading back up to that one. Okay, so we appear to have some resistance there. So I'd say at the very least, we're going to repair this weak C period low. It's not super bearish, though. The ticks are still pushing higher. They're below the zero line, but they're pushing higher, which means there are more buyers stepping in, forcing it up. So seeing a big wick now, if it pulls back down and it leaves a big wick behind, that would be the clearer signal of resistance. Okay, so yep, I think they need a little push lower here. There's a lot of support inside of here, inside of the last few days, obviously because they were balancing days and the market just churned around in this area. So we might find support right in here, or we might come back down into here. But I do think we need a little bit of a pullback to bring in more buyers. So let's see what happens. Jeremy, are the A period single prints from yesterday significant? Not really. That's just a buying tail down there. So that's actually like bullish to see that there's so many, because it's just a sign that there were no sellers down there, right? They just opened and instantly pushed all the way up here looking for two-sided trade up in this area. So there's nothing really significant about that, no. What I'm looking at right now that's catching my attention is support and resistance, right? This should have acted as support. It did not. Right now it's acting as resistance. So I'm watching those ticks to see who's going to win the battle. Oh, well, now the ticks are pushing again. So if the ticks continue to push higher, it's a sign that the buyers are winning the battle. They're fighting their way through that resistance. But if they wick down, if suddenly they pull back down and they leave a big wick behind like this green one here, well, then you know the sellers are piling on right there in that resistance. Good morning, Arthur, David, and Jay Trader. Good to see you guys. All right, well, it looks like I was a little early on my bearish call here. If they get those ticks back above the zero line, they're going to push it right back up to the opening price pretty quick. Jitten, this is the equivalent to a limit down in this market. Oh, I get the joke. Nor Auto Trader, good to see you. Welcome back. All right. Well, may have been early. Like I said, if they get these ticks back above the zero line, they'll be back at that opening price in a flash. And we'll just get chop. G'day, Jonathan. Arg. Hit the like button or die from scurvy. John, I love the smell of chop in the morning. That's a classic. Joe Park, welcome. Oh, do we got some Fed minutes coming out today or something? What's happening with the Fed? Looks like the ECB announced they're going to stop QE. That's pretty bearish to hear. What is QA? QE? Quantitative easing. Printing money and buying assets. Ah, Nathan, thank you for the update. We'll keep an eye out for crazy flutters in price. Right around them times, them talking. Joe Park already calling for a transitory. I don't know, man. They got to change their tune eventually. They can't keep saying that. Didn't Buttigieg just come out like 2 days ago and say that it's that the supply chain problems are going to last at least another year or two? Like, okay. So we repaired that weak C period low. So, like I said, there's a lot of support beneath us. The market could really find support anywhere in here because we rotated for a few days and brought in a lot of two-sided trade in here. But the most likely spot to find support is going to be in this node of volume where you can see the cumulative volume. It's very, very large. And that, to me, as I mentioned yesterday, would be a good spot to start a balancing area. So for the market over the next few days to just kind of bounce up and down between those levels, you know? Obviously, way too early to make that call right now. We could easily just find support right here and turn right back around. But it's what the market does. It gets a big push of excess, and then it has to balance that excess off. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least. At this point, if you got into the short trade there with the resistance, you're monitoring for continuation. So you don't have a specific target to the downside. You're just kind of staying in the trade and seeing how far it can push. Because it could potentially keep going to repair some of this weakness. We don't know. Got a poor low here that needs repair. Got single prints from the 12th that need to backfill. And another poor low down here. So we kind of just ride the momentum to the downside and see how far they can get it. I just realized my mic's been off this whole time while I've been doing my Dogecoin analysis. Sorry about that. Essentially, it's just, you know, balancing. It's been balancing for like 9 months. So the breakout of balance, you just go with whichever direction. I don't know if you can short Dogecoin, if there's a place to short it. So if it breaks out to the downside, I would just wait and buy it in its next support. But if it breaks out to the upside, I would buy it for sure, because 9 months of consolidation, it can get a big push. All right, and the ES is still selling here. The Bears are in charge here. Donkey. Ha ha ha. I'm in danger. Uh. It's over, Donkey. Don't worry. It's over. Okay, so at this point, I'm trailing my stop on the short because, like I said, it's tough to call where exactly they'll find support in here. The strongest support is going to be this node of volume, where you can see it very clearly in the cumulative, right around 72. We've done a lot of trading in there over the last few days, so that should act as strong support. And of course, if that breaks, the next stop is that poor low we left behind on the 15th. NQ strong compared to ES. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly stronger than the ES, that's for sure. They repaired their weak G period low as well, but didn't even need to get to the base of the single prints from the D period. That is interesting. So yeah, that does look stronger than the ES. Looking for resistance now at about halfback, about 16 to 97. If the sellers pile on there, they'll get another push lower. Fred, potentially great swing long here with 5 points of risk to catch the daily one-time framing up. Yeah, I mean, I could see that trade. That's not a trade I would get in, but yeah, I could definitely see that. It does feel like they're not done, though. We have good taper on the low here, but it does feel like they need another push. They picked kind of a random spot to find support. So I think if we don't get it right around 72, 73-ish in this giant node of volume right here, we're going to have to repair that poor low at 67. Speaking of poor lows, we just made one. So we would expect to push away from the poor low, but it increases the odds we're going to come back down and repair it at some point later. Chittin, more like buy the fucking dip lows every day. Market has left behind 3 poor lows. Well, not in the past 3 days, but yeah, over the past few weeks, past few months, it's been leaving behind a lot of poor lows. But again, I just remind everyone to think about what the market does on the daily. You know, I just talked about it this morning. It doesn't just push higher, have one tiny little pullback, and then keep pushing higher forever. It rotates, and it rotates for days. So you don't see any examples in here where you get the market pushing higher and it has one little pullback and then it just continues higher. It pushes higher and then it goes sideways for a while, right? It pushes higher and then it goes sideways for a while. Pushes higher, sideways for a while. Oh no, I just got my stop. My trailing stop just filled. So that's what it does, right? So it wouldn't be unreasonable for the market to push up and spend a few days going sideways here before either breaking out to the upside or getting a larger pullback. But what happens is, and it happened to me over and over in these time periods, is you begin to tell yourself, oh, look at all these gaps, right? You see all these gaps. Look at all these gaps we're leaving behind. Look at all this excess. This market only goes up and then it goes sideways and you think it has to break out. It has to make so much money. And then boom, before you know it, you're down here. Does it again. Massive push higher, goes sideways, sideways. It's got to make so much money. Boom, pulls back down. So mark my words, it will come back to repair all these poor lows. It's just what it do. It just has to do it the way it does it, which is the way to trick the most traders and make it as hard as possible. All right. Well, we are getting a reversal on the ticks here. They are now beginning to trend higher and get above the 0 line. So we'll see how they react when they get to this halfback area, which was resistance earlier this morning. Does it remain resistance, or are they able to push through? Okay, so we didn't quite get up into that resistance, but looks like we're now heading back down to repair that poor low. Okay, so this is the area where we should find resistance, as it was resistance earlier this morning. If we start to get above this, like, say, 88.75 level, then we can look for continuation higher. But until then, the assumption would be that the market is going to head back down to repair that poor low. And the ticks could give us a good indication. If they start to get back above the zero line. The NQ looking great. It's about to break back above its high. It did. So the NQ is now one time framing higher while the ES is selling off. Definitely going to get some push-pull between the two. If I was trading the NQ, I'd like to see it push above the overnight high and then buy any support pretty much anywhere in here on the pullback down for continuation higher. Otherwise, it might just rotate in here if it doesn't find support after getting above that overnight high. Back to the ES. Jay, feel like the sellers are having a hard time? Absolutely. That is a great way to look at it. They're trying to push the market lower, but they're not doing a very good job of it. This is their last stand, this little note of volume right here. If they can't hold that, then the sellers who've been selling in here are going to get squeezed and the market will pop back up. Can they hold it? Like I said, if the ticks start to trend up above the zero line, then they can't. But as long as they keep rejecting off of it like this, the sellers are still holding on by the skin on their teeth. Looks like they are pumping the $1 trillion club. Is that the term for the companies who are worth more than $1 trillion? That's a great name. $1 trillion club. Yeah, that explains why NASDAQ is so much stronger. Mackie Max, it's interesting how the ticks on the NQ are down, but the price is up. Yeah, I mean, that is interesting. You're right. You would expect at the very least for the ticks to be more bullish than the NYSE, which has more of the S&P stocks in it. But really, the price isn't up. It's just rotating, right? It's just kind of going up and down right now. Like I said, for it to truly be going up, let's go back to the NQ. They got to get above the overnight high and then come back down and find support. Anything else is just chop. It's just uncertainty. And could lead to a day today that looks a lot like this overnight. A bell on a bell on a bell. Ding, ding, ding. Too early to make that call, though. All right, so the ticks will give us our signal here. Right now, they're holding resistance at that zero line, meaning there are more sellers than buyers in the market. However, they're also trending higher. They're also making higher lows. So if we're going to get a push back down to repair that poor low, what we should get is one, like this red tick should get bigger and pass below the previous tick, breaking that uptrend. Because a lot of times the ticks trending up is a first signal that the market is getting ready to break through resistance. So if they keep the low of this tick above this one, the next push could get through that resistance. Right around that half back. Okay? So keep a close eye on them ticks. River Rock ES making B profile. I mean, it's way, way, way too early to make that call. But yeah, if we were to just rotate sideways from here, that's what it would do. But it could just as easily be a trend day down, right? We don't know yet. We're less than an hour into the day. So we could come back down to repair this poor low, and we don't find the support we need here in this node of volume around 72, and all of a sudden we got another poor low to repair, and then that starts to cause shock, and then we head down to that third poor low. We got 6 hours, plenty of time to get down here and try to repair this one. So too early to make the B call. Okay, if you shorted the halfback as resistance, it'd be worth moving your stop below break even here, as they should head down and repair the poor low. But if they come back up, they'll break through that resistance. Ticks are starting to break that low, so that's a good sign for continuation lower. Danielle, I don't think about it like that, but that is correct. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but yeah, you almost always test either the high or low of the overnight, like with really high probability. I think it's like 80% of the time or something like that, or even probably more than that, probably 95% of the time you test either the high or low of the overnight. Um, but then if you break below one way or the other, you don't head to the other. I've heard that statistic, but no, I don't think about it like that. For me, it's just about the two-way auction process. So what I was looking at this morning was this node of volume, which just coincidentally happened to be the same place as the overnight low, which makes sense, right? It was support for the overnight. And so I was saying if we got below it and then came back up and found resistance, then I'd be looking to go short, which is what happened. And that's, of course, when I changed the banner to say bearish, was when I was seeing that happen. But on the idea of like, since we broke the low, can we not get above the high? I don't see that, not for today. Like, we could easily get back above that high. If we get back above this node here, if the market works its way through that, all the shorts that have been piling on here will step in. It'll get a good push, and we could head back up into this node here. So it's just a matter of who's controlling the auction at the moment. Right now, it's the sellers. But they could flip the switch at any minute. I'd, of course, prefer to see that poor low get repaired first. That would be healthier for the market. Is it possible to have a POC marker on the 30-minute profile? Well, not a time point of control. So the POC that I use is based on time. So right now, that's where the market has spent the most time, is right there. You could have a volume point of control. You could say, within this 30 minutes, this was where the most volume traded. But you can't have a time point of control because it's only a 30-minute time period. All right. Man. So that age-old saying, the sellers are trying to push the market lower, but they are not doing a good job of it, getting those ticks back above the zero line. Once again, the buyers are starting to overpower the sellers. We can still count this as an uptrend in the ticks. So I will go back to a neutral stance. Once again, if they get above that sort of 89 level, this node that was resistance before, I will assume that the buyers have taken control and they're going to push it as high as they can until they run out. All right, before we leave for the day, throwing out that survey, will they get that poor low? The buyers and the sellers are right on the edge. They're battling one another. Who is going to win? Let me know what you think in the next 2 minutes. So the question is, will they push it back down here to get at least 2 ticks below this A period low before they break above the resistance in here? Will they repair that poor low? Donkey, how many votes to stay here all day? Nah, with only 53 likes, the chat hasn't earned it today. No love from the chat, no love from the pirate. It's a cruel, dark world out there. All right, print in the C period. So the market is neither one time framing up or down. The B period is what is called an inside bar. It's inside the A period. And so often you want to go with whichever direction you break that inside bar. So if the C period gets above the B period high, you want to go long with that. Or if it breaks the B period low, you want to go short with that. All right. Oh, man, the survey's at 50-50 right now. Any last voters? Get in there and vote. I'm going to end it. That is funny. Talk about uncertainty in the market. No wonder the market's going nowhere. Oh, it ended up with 51% no. Okay, so the chat is slightly more bullish than bearish here. Oh, boy. Pushing right up into that resistance. What are those ticks doing? They're staying above that zero line. All right, guys. Well, with that, in this pivotal moment, I will say goodbye to you. Only costs $10 to keep hanging out. There's a link in the description. Join the Brigade. Become a member of a team, a community, a support system. Otherwise, I will see you here tomorrow morning. So once again, if it breaks above that B period high, so if it gets to 87.75, it's probably going to get continuation higher. We're heading back up to that opening price. But if they can hold the resistance here, they'll head down and repair that poor low. Best of luck. Happy trading, everyone.